What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Cooperators, the Mighty Mandos podcast. Oh, jeez, I'm just so excited. We have a third person this week, guys. We have Gabe, and now we have Gab along with us, too. Welcome, Gab.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're excited to have you. Excited to have a third person. We've been talking about this for months, me and Gabe wanting to get a third person onto the Mighty Mandos, and we finally have another voice on here. I'm very excited for this. Today we are talking about the latest episode, and that is episode 6, season 2, or what is that now? 14, I think? Chapter 14?
Yeah.
The Tragedy. If you didn't know, each and every week on the Mighty Mandos podcast, we talk about the latest episode of The Mandalorian. That is including our thoughts on the plot, what we thought about the overall episode, everything in between there. Just a lot of fun. As always, I am joined by Gabe, my ever co-host, the man who always seems to wearing yellow now.
I feel like it's my new uniform with this podcast, and also me eating it like a trademark.
That is definitely a trademark. And like I said, we have Gab along for the ride. Gab is the creator of Ghost Time Games. Great guy, super nerd. I've been nerding out with this guy since I was probably 11 or 12. From everything from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings. So I'm excited to get your thoughts on everything, because I know that you know a lot of the extended lore, like I do. And it would be exciting to kind of get that aspect of everything, especially for this episode. Guys, this episode was such a banger. Oh, jeez. But if you didn't know, you can also catch us each and every week on Twitch at twitch.tv/theco_operators to watch us live on Sundays, or you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Now that I had a very, very rough and kind of a all conjointed and combobulated intro, let's get into our initial thoughts of this episode, guys. Gab, since you're our guest, why don't we start with you?
First I was like, wow, this is mostly just action. There wasn't a lot of stuff that progressed the plot forward, it felt like, but then when I saw at the end Robert Rodriguez, I was like, oh, of course, this is totally a Robert Rodriguez episode. That I think made me appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, for sure, because last season I think he did The Prisoner, was his episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he?
I think so. I'll have to double check that just to get that, but I'm pretty sure he did that one. So I was actually going into this episode a little worried, because, like everyone knows, The Prisoner was probably my least favorite episode from last season, and I think a lot of people share that sentiment. But I went into this with very low expectations and came out with such, I was just so pumped the entire time. Like you said, there was a lot of action, but they brought back Boba Fett. They brought back, what's her name, from who apparently didn't die in season 1.
Yeah. Fennec.
So just these awesome callbacks, and callback to Boba Fett, who I thought was just going to be a very slight cameo in, I think, the second or third episode, but instead he was there. He was there for the entire thing. He is now back into the crew, and I love that they used the actor who played Jango Fett, the original guy, because that's exactly what he would have looked like when he grew up, right? He would have looked like his dad, because he was a clone too. So
yeah.
I thought that was a very good choice. I think he did an amazing job. And just the fight scenes, when he was using the gaffy stick, that thing was destroying stormtroopers.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's the first time I feel like I've seen it used properly. Like the Sand People always have it, and I'm like, it's just a stick. But then seeing Boba Fett use it was like, oh, finally you get to see the gaffy stick the way it was meant to be used.
And it was it was dangerous. Both the stabbing, but also he crushed people's heads, and that was intense. That was callback to the very first episode where they went next level melting people on screen. That was some very intense violence for Star Wars. So very, very different, but very cool. How about you, Gabe? Oh, that's gonna be annoying throughout this entire thing. And if we get any chatters and that kind of thing, just make sure one has an E and one does not. And E is always eating.
Always.
E is for eating.
I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was the episode that had the most amount of engagement, because I remember when I was watching it, I was like, I wonder how much time is left, and there was like 2 minutes left, and I was like, interesting. And then, like Gab mentioned, I was floored when I saw Robert Rodriguez directing it because I knew I know that he's a huge science fiction fan. I also know that he is friends with Jon Favreau, I believe. And so it was interesting that partnership take place. Um, I think it was cool to see Timu Morrison, I think is his name, the actor who plays Django and now Boba Fett, um, reprise the role, but not reprise the role. Wearing the armor was really neat. My only thing, like, a great episode. Everything about it was great. It lived up to its title called The Tragedy. And I thought, well, this isn't going to end well. And I thought the whole thing was really good. There's two parts of this episode that I just was like,
Can I guess what one of them is?
Go for it.
That Baby Yoda came out of his trance right when the Mandalorian left. Like, the second he walked away from Baby Yoda, he went out of the trance. I'm like, what kind of bullshit is that? Like, it's just way too convenient, I found. But yeah, keep going. What were your two things?
Well, I would keep it with that. Like, plot-wise, everything, like, those things were fine. My issue was, where did his jetpack go?
Oh, he took it off. Remember?
I know, but then things happened. Why didn't he put it back on?
I guess he was just more concerned about the kid. That's where I kind of was going with that.
And then the other two, that was kind of my silly one. My two big ones are this: we're gonna say that we can bring characters back from the dead, because for me, great. I think Ming now Wen's character is a Fennec was so good. I mean, you can't argue it. Like, that was you and I, Ben, we talked about it in season 1 about how amazing that character was, and she was so complex, multi-layered, super engaging. You could tell that that was a great role, and it was too bad that she died. But also at the same time, that's just the way the Mandalorian is. This is a show that has no mercy, because this is a wild time. So to have her come back was a moment for me where I was like, oh, okay, so people can come back from the dead.
Yeah, I don't hate it, just because they did the exact same thing to Anakin, right? Like, he was on the Death Star and then became Darth Vader, who was like one of the most intimidating people in all the galaxy. Right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the difference between him and Fennec, though, I think they're major. Like, one's a major character, pivotal, right, to the saga of the Skywalker series, and I guess maybe Fennec is a pivotal character to this Mandalorian series too. I hope. I mean, I don't really know where we're going with it.
I had a question about that, because didn't they hint that she might not be dead in the first season? What was it, episode 5? There was someone that walked up to her body, which I think they showed in the recap or something, which seems like it was a long time coming that they were planning on bringing her back. But I think that it seems like they had set up something to reference that at some point.
Well, then
they were trying to keep their options open.
I think it also answers the question of who was on Tatooine following the Mandalorian, right? And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Just the bringing back from the dead thing, I was like, ah. Then the other point was, I mean, I don't know. Maybe people are more of a fan of the character. I really didn't like Bill Burr's character, and so bring back that character now from season. And I do appreciate we're tying in things from season 1 to season 2, but I'm also kind of like, we know this is a terrible character. We know this is a character that's going to backstab the Mandalorian any chance he can get. And also, I just wasn't a fan of that episode altogether. There was like one highlight, which was when the Mandalorian kind of turned into the alien from Ridley Scott's Alien series, and I thought that was really neat. But other than that, I really didn't care for that episode. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. Loved the resolution of, like, we actually see Cara Dune's. She's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm back. I work for the rebellion now. And then he's like, they got the kid. Fuck the rebellion. We're gonna get the kid back. I thought that was interesting. It was a great episode, though. I really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see. We have yet to have a stinker episode. we're halfway through the season. We have 2 episodes left. There's not been a single episode where I was like, that was really crummy. I feel like I wasted my time watching that. So I'm curious to see where we're headed, and we only have 2 episodes left.
Actually, that's one thing that I was concerned about before going into season 2. I thought that because in the first one we got like 2 or 3 kind of stinkers of episodes, really. Because I was really worried going into this season that maybe they bring in the wrong director or bring like the wrong story points, but they really have hit it like extremely well the entire time. And I'm very happy. I think that that's exactly what this show needed. I think if they did that wrong at all, the show would have died after 2 seasons for sure.
And I'm just looking here. It looks like we only have 2 episodes left. And when I was looking at the Reddit Discord, it looked like there was 2 episodes left with the possibility of maybe another in January, but unlikely.
Yeah, I think that there's supposed to be 2 left. If there's anything extra, it would be like a one-off kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So we're back to that initial issue that I had earlier, Ben, when I was talking to you about it. And Gab, I don't know if you have the same problem, but there's a lot of questions that they need to kind of wrap up this season, or they're really playing the long game, and we're going to stretch this show out into 6 or 7 seasons, which I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go down. I'm very excited.
What are all the questions? Like, for example,
what's up with the bodies that are in the science bay? Whose bodies are those? What's the science experiment all about? The other question being this dark saber issue, and Bo-Katan's mission to get the dark saber. Ahsoka Tano's journey to find General Thrawn. So we have these. I mean, they're pretty big resolutions that, unless we're hoping to wrap them up next season or a season after that, we're really stretching now. Now we're saying we're going to play the long game here.
I mean, I would
for
say
each of these.
for Ahsoka's storyline at the very least, I think that she's going to get her own show. I don't think that you're going to wrap that into the Mandalorian. I think that that's going to be eventually. It'll either be called the Jedi, it'll be called Thrawn, it'll be called Ahsoka, whatever. But because there's like an entire storyline that goes along with that based on other canons that we've talked about and I've talked about on the show too.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to try and wrap those, I guess, I don't even know how to say it.
I would agree with that.
It needs to be his own show. If they try and warp it into this with more than just a couple cameos, it's going to fall apart like crazy. Both of them are.
I think they could. I think they could wrap up the other questions in 2 episodes, because they basically have to get to Gideon, and then they're gonna bring back in the other Mandalorians who wanted to get the Darksaber. So that's kind of gonna overlap because before he didn't want anything to do with Gideon, and now he wants everything to do with Gideon because he's got Grogu. So they're gonna overlap and probably get into the science stuff too, because like, why does he want Grogu? It has to be mentioned in the next episode for sure.
Right. And look
on that too. Like, I think that it's very obvious that they're trying to clone the Emperor right now. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Because the clone in those tanks looks like the clones that were on whatever that Sith planet was that they go to in episode 9.
And then do we have any indication of who the Jedi is going to be? That's gonna assist group. And then again, like, this is why I'm like, it's very exciting, because this to me shows the real thoughtful process that Jon Favreau and the team have decided to do in regards to how they mapped out the show. Because at the end of the day, the quest of this series ends the moment Grogu and the Mandalorian part ways. Because his mission is to find Grogu's people, and he almost did, but now it's like the next step in that little.
They do wrap up Grogu's story in some way, like either if it's bringing in some Jedi that we don't know, if it's bringing back a Jedi that we do, like Luke or someone, right? We have no idea who it could be, because Ahsoka. I don't think it's gonna be Ezra, because Ezra's who they're looking for, like Ahsoka's looking for. So we don't know many Jedi who are actually just like flying around right now in like the overall universe, at least within the canon. I'm not sure about some of the books because I've fallen off the books a bit, but because we don't know of like a lot of Jedi out there, it could be very interesting to see who they're going to bring in. Like, are they going to make a new Jedi that they're going to add into this like overall universe? How is that going to fit with everything that's going on in the future and like with Luke and Ben and all that kind of stuff? So I'm very interested, but I'm wondering.
That's
the next step after Grogu's adventure is that the Mandalorian joins up with Bo-Katan and them to try and take back Mandalore, right? Because that would be the next step for a Mandalorian, especially in the Watch. Is it part of the Watch? Children of the Watch. Because they're trying to get like Mandalore back to like this very traditional thing. I wonder if he's going to try and fight to get the planet back in general. Like there's like that kind of route. Obviously they can do a lot of different things. They could go back to like doing an episodic bounty hunter type thing, but I think that gets really in a season or two.
Yeah.
Have that, and I think if you lose Grogu or Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call him, I think you're gonna lose a lot of your fan base too, which, yeah, it's all kind of worrying about like what they're gonna happen next. At least in my opinion. But I'm on for the ride. I don't care if it's good or bad. I am here for a ride.
I think that goes without saying for me too. It's not that I'm complaining. It's more of I'm really curious to see what the end game here is. I think it'll be very exciting to see how much thoughtfulness they put into where this sucker gets wrapped up to. But in terms of this episode itself, I'm pretty curious about. I wonder how long they had to keep it a secret that Boba Fett was coming back.
Well, I think a lot of people suspected it for a while. Like a lot of people even last season thought that Boba Fett was the one who walked up to Bennett, right? Well, obviously now.
I thought it was the other deal.
Because for some reason they had Spurs. Boba Fett didn't have Spurs in the next season. Where were his Spurs, guys? But the other guy, like the guy who ran the thing, who was wearing Boba Fett's armor, he did have Spurs. So it was like, oh, it was just him. No, apparently it wasn't. And Boba Fett was like passed off his Spurs that he had. He's just like, oh, I don't like these anymore. Gab, you might know. So I've been trying to think back to episode 2, so Attack of the Clones, and I can't remember him taking his father's body. I thought he just took the helmet.
Yeah, I think that's all they show. He just
and he like runs off.
Except there's just a shot of him. Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
But his armor. Yeah, I don't know. Unless he had it like on Slave 1 or something, and he was like, "Oh, you can take this when you're big enough." Because it was Django's armor was also blue, right? And Boba Fett's was So unless if he painted and stuff and did a bunch of mods, then he could have just had different armor.
I guess, but yeah, like I was very confused because he's like, "Oh, this was my father's armor." I was like, "No, it wasn't. Your father's armor was nothing like this armor."
It was his backup pair.
But I mean, oh god, how rich must his dad have been to have 2 full sets of Beskar armor?
That's true. Although he was getting
higher, so it was probably more free flowing. But
he was probably very loaded though after like that clone job.
He did give up his DNA to make like entire armies of clones who took over the galaxy.
He was working for Palpatine, and Palpatine I'm sure would have had bank for him. So
that's true.
So
I guess technically he was working for what's his name?
Dooku?
Yeah. Because he knew Dooku, because Palpatine was never like anything, right? It was always like one of the
Who? Yeah, I just watched the prequels. Who actually commissioned the clones?
Jedi Master. Ooh. I don't know.
It was like someone
forever at that point, though.
Yeah. They've been doing it through like some kind of proxy, but like I still think it's Palpatine who would put in all the orders, and he was just putting it through some dead Jedi's name.
Very interesting.
How long could they have really been there? Because Jango Fett was not that old. Like, and his clones, like, were all adult age. I mean, they grew fast, but still, how fast are these things growing? I can't wait to eventually talk about Star Wars on one of these reviews. Those will be some interesting episodes, especially the prequels.
I'm curious. I'm just curious to see what your predictions are for now Boba Fett, and whether or not the thought came across to anyone, because this episode was called a tragedy, that Boba Fett would come back and then die.
No.
So we see, like, just like, oh, amazing, like, comes back and just like shows like this is why he's the bounty hunter of bounty hunters, and then sacrifice himself for a Grogu situation. Like, and still we have 2 episodes left, so it's not to say it would happen. But I'm curious just to see what you guys thought about that, or what the tragedy meant for you.
So I think now that they brought Boba Fett back as one of the most popular characters in all of Star Wars universe, it would probably be like Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Darth Maul, and maybe Luke, maybe.
Yep.
But I would say like those are probably like some of the most like biggest characters. I guess Han and Chewie for some groups, but I don't think after you bring him back and now it being canon that he is alive, it would make sense to kill him off, because now they can do so much with Boba Fett and have his entire show and people watch it, right? Because it would be so different than the Mandalorian, because it would be more like probably him going off to get revenge against like the Jedi.
What do you go after, Luke?
So I watch that because like Luke is like so powerful at this point. So like very interesting having him like go after that, or you could do. They could do so much stuff with them. They could just redo like the Bounty Hunter tales and make that into like a series, and I'd watch that. Like you bring back like Zuckuss, Forlom, IG, like. So I think that I don't think at this point. I don't think you kill off Boba Fett after bringing him back, because he's just too high a value of a commodity for the entire brand.
Yeah. It would feel crazy to bring him down just for Grogu. I think the name the tragedy was like I don't know if there's something else to it, but for the episode it didn't feel that fitting. I was expecting something worse, and really Grogu just got kidnapped and didn't. I mean, the biggest tragedy I think was the Razor Crest getting completely destroyed, especially after this whole season. It's been in rough shape and like almost destroyed in the ice planet by those spider creatures, and then they must have fixed it up on what's the planet they go to? And it's all fixed up and stuff, and he lands, and then his ship just gets destroyed, and it's like, oh no.
Like Jabba's disabled it, like took it apart, and they fully fixed it. It got destroyed in like 5 different places throughout the series so far, and now it's gone. Like it is gone. And there's no way he's gonna be able to find another Razor Crest either, because like they're decommissioned, right? Like that was like pre-Empire kind of stuff. That's not gonna be around. So what kind of ship is he gonna get? Is he gonna get like some kind of sweet ass stolen thing from the Empire? Is he gonna have to find a new ship? Is that gonna be an adventure in itself? Like him finding like
does he get like there's so many things to think about with it. I'm glad you brought that up, Gabe, because to me, that after watching the episode, I was like, Grogu got kidnapped. It's horrible. But the tragedy, is the ship being completely decimated. How about you, Ben? What did you think the tragedy was going to be as you were watching the episode?
I thought something was going to happen to the Mandalorian when I first came into it.
Yeah.
The tragedy, I was like, oh shit, someone's going to die. Maybe the Mandalorian. Maybe he's going to get really hurt. But I didn't think that Grogu getting kidnapped was a huge tragedy, because we saw Grogu in that cell with 2 stormtroopers, like basically going dark side of their asses and like throwing them around, force choking them. And if he wasn't so sleepy, he probably would have just killed Gideon right there and then. Like Grogu has very little sense of the light side and dark side. He's just kind of there. So I think that him getting kidnapped is probably not the worst thing, because even with shackles on, he'll still be able to use the Force. Like that's just how that works. So yeah. So they have to either keep him sedated or whatever. But if he wakes up and like Gideon's there, he'll like go sit on his butt.
It brings back my theory, though, that the possibility of Grogu being evil would happen.
I think it's less that he's evil and more that he wasn't trained in how to control things properly. Like he was trained, still so young within his race that he probably still doesn't understand what is good and what you can do and what you can't do and like what's right and wrong. Especially because now his father figure, his person who's like kind of showing him ethics, is not the most ethical person in the universe. Goes around just murdering people and stuff too. So
but keeps to his word. Keeps to his word. What he would do. I just think it would be a very interesting plot point if he went dark side, with everything that's happened, and just to kind of be the I guess the huge arc on however many series this is going to be or seasons it's going to be to finally resolve it all with you got to put Grogu down or you have to find a way to change Grogu to the light side again. I think would be interesting, and I think it would go back to the whole initial. I just want to be right, Ben. I just want to bring.
I think that would make good season 3. Maybe this experience of being kidnapped and being under Imperial control again at this state of development kind of twists him a little bit and spins him off on a bad path.
And thus resulting in the Mandalorian's death, switching Grogu over in some way or another. Maybe, who knows? Maybe the Mandalorian doesn't die. But I just from the get go of the season, I just feel like the show has such a dark tone to it. And I think Gab, yeah, you totally hit the nail on the head with talking about the Razor Crest just being decimated. That's the Mandalorian's home, and it's gone. Like he really had no other home aside from his other kinfolk that were in his clan, but they're all gone. Nothing. He's got nothing. Literally nothing except for a best card.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because like his entire like clan thing too was like decimated, right? Like Grogu is basically his family at this point.
Yep.
Maybe just the tragedy was just him forgetting to put his jetpack on. Like he could have got to Grogu so fast. He could have like easily saved Grogu if he had just put that jetpack back on.
It was.
I was another thing that I was annoyed by was when he kept trying to get into that blue field, and he got knocked unconscious for like most of the battle.
Yeah, that's
and he was like that was his third try going in. And it's like you can't get in. Like stop trying. You're gonna get. And he just gets beaten up every time he tries to go in. Felt like he should have learned his lesson.
I think it's like they wanted to show off Fennec and Boba Fett's like awesome skills.
Yeah.
I get that, but at the same time, like you're right. After the second time, where he's like, "I'm gonna protect you, kid," it's like just stand there and protect him. Then you don't need to like try and get him out of this thing that obviously is way too strong for you to get into.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy too, so I was very confused why he kept like really pushing that. I guess that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how she goes.
But also probably good because if he grabbed the kid, he probably would have like ran into the Razor Crest and then got blown up.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting leading into this next 2 episodes because the question becomes who's gonna join this group to get Grogu back. Obviously we have Boba Fett and Fennec. But who
hopefully
else?
Bill Burr dies.
Bill Burr's character. Yeah.
Just like last season, it seems like these 2 episodes are like getting the band back together, right?
Yeah.
Which like I'm not against. I like getting the band back together. I always think that's fun, but
Me too.
it also just feels like they did it already once. Like, do they need to go back and get old characters? Can't they like? They have a whole new group of characters right now from this season. If you're gonna get the band back together, just those people. Grab the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan and them. Maybe bring back Ahsoka. Then again, it's kind of overpowered. Maybe skip Ahsoka. Get Boba Fett, Fennec, and the Mandalorians, and have that be your group, right? This group of Mandalorians going against this guy who like ransacked their planet would make so much more sense than bringing in a rebellion marshal and bringing in probably I would say Grief's probably going to go with them too because he like loves that child, and it's just like the way that they have it set up. It just seems like they're going to like pull in these people who have like nothing to do with anything, like Bill Burr's character, who was okay. I think that's like the highest compliment I can give.
I was really annoyed when I saw that he was coming back.
I think for me, it's not Bill Burr, that person or the actor that bothered me, nor the character. It was just the episode I associate with that character, and
Yeah.
it was just a thoroughly executed episode when we were already on a run of bad episodes, and I was like, dude, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But I'd like to look.
Bill Burr's comedy that much either, and like
Yeah.
you could really see like he was basically just playing himself as someone in Star Wars. That was like kind of made me like, all right, well, you know what, this isn't your thing. This is like a universe that's already built. You don't need to be you. Just be this character. But like his one-liner, like little like quips and things weren't very funny, and like he wasn't a very interesting character. He was kind of just a bad guy who you knew was going to turn on the Mandalorian at the end, and like I don't know, he seemed too one-dimensional, really, and I don't know why they would bring a character like that back. Like what can he do that a group of Mandalorians can't? After he saw like the Mandalorians like kick ass like crazy, or Boba Fett, like the most iconic bounty hunter in all the universe, like ever, or like so I don't know. I just think that if you're gonna bring a band back together, that's fine. But stick with like these groups that actually make sense. Don't call back to some random character from the first season that no one cared about.
Yeah, it feels like someone was just like, "Oh, I like Bill Burr. We should get him back." That's what it feels like. Like there's no other reason why he should come back for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like contracted for more than one episode.
The other thing that, which I think is fascinating to me, is after these next two episodes happen, I want to go back and watch season 1 again and see if there's redemption for those subpar episodes, because maybe that was the point, was to do this long game. And if that's the case, my apologies about my initial thoughts on those episodes. Yeah, I don't know. I know that Bill Burr's character is supposed to is one of the only few who, like, I can't remember what the Mandalorian says. He knows that Bill Burr's character has access to something, and that's why he needs them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could just say that other people had that same access and just not use his character again.
Yeah. Oh,
Mandalorians, like there's a bunch of them on that other team who seem to be very like super high tech and like awesome fighters and good at infiltrating. They just like took over like this super high value like carrier ship and stuff, like because like they have that kind of setup. Like these are an awesome group of people who are very skilled. I guess I just don't get why going back to like him makes sense. Other than he was ex-Imperial.
Yeah. Couldn't tell you, dude.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they just need someone who's ex-Imperial to get past some kind of protocol or something, right? But
the code.
It's pretty flimsy, I guess, would be my word for it.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the highlights of this episode, because I think we talked about the things we liked and stuff, but like, was there like a standout point for you? Gab, why don't we start with you first? Was there a standout point for you this episode that you were like, that's cool, that's highlight?
I think getting Boba Fett back was awesome. Like once he had his armor on and he had that black skirt, it was just like this new kind of. It was by far the most badass we've ever seen Boba Fett, and like when he took down that ship and he was like, I was aiming for the other one. That was just awesome. Like was not expecting both ships, and then when I saw them, I was like, oh yeah, this is like perfectly lined up. It was just an awesome moment. Really, and like seeing Slave One the first time when Slave One flies back in was so awesome. Like I just watched Empire this last week, and that's the first time you see the ship, and so. Seeing the ship again in this episode was super cool too. Just all the stuff that you like about Boba Fett, I feel like it was in there.
Yeah. Imagine for you guys as huge fans, just to see the ship and then to see him. Oh, I'm sorry. This thing just popped in my head. Did you guys both think that he was good, or were you both, when you saw the ship go by, or you were like, uh-oh?
I assumed he was just coming for his armor. I assumed he was going to have with Baby Yoda. It was just going to be like, hey, can I have my ship back, please? Because, like,
it seemed like a neutral thing.
I don't know why he wouldn't have taken it back from the Marshal, because obviously he probably could have gone in there and like, wiped out everybody in that town, but maybe he's like, I guess maybe he was like looking over and be like, you know what, they need that, or like, but that's just what doesn't really seem to fit his character either. So I'm a little confused about that part, why he didn't just take his armor back when he could, but maybe he wasn't trying to stir up trouble, something, I don't know. He seems to be less of a, I wouldn't say a dick, because I don't think he was ever really a dick. I think he was just on a mission. But yeah, and actually it's weird because he seems like he really wasn't big on the Empire. Like at the end, he's like, the Empire's back, and he sounded like scared or like worried. But he was employed by the Empire for most of the original trilogy. He was like, why would he care if they're coming back? Like, it would just be like more work for him, basically.
I don't know.
Yeah, because there was like falling out or anything. It was just like he did a job for the Empire and it went really well because he got everything he wanted, and then he got screwed by a blind Han Solo when he got shot into the satellite pit. Which I'd still like them to explain how he got out of this version. Because the old version he got out because like a dropped a thermal detonator and exploded himself out of it.
Yeah.
He did look kind of scarred and stuff in this one, didn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So maybe he got like
He was.
I don't know. I was just saying. Low point for you, Gab?
Well, other than finding out that Bill Burr is coming back, I would say that just the timing of the whole like stone thing was kind of frustrating. Like, especially like I said already, with him trying to go into the thing repeatedly and not being able to get in, and then the dark troopers landing and taking them away right as the thing goes down. It was just kind of. I mean, it was necessary to propel the plot, but it was kind of sloppy. Felt like.
convenience.
Yeah.
It seemed like everything that happened around Grogu was just out of convenience. Makes sense. How about you, Gabe? What's your
I think the high point that I found really fascinating, and I think it's a thing that Robert Rodriguez doesn't get a lot of credit for, is the way he plays with subtlety. And what I mean by that is this whole episode was all about like the action, right? And so you're probably thinking like, Gabe, what the fuck are you talking about? Subtlety. And when they land on the planet and they come up to the altar, and just the dialogue in the moment that that Grogu and the Mandalorian have together, I thought was just such a really. It was with this moment of like, someone's got to turn it on to make it work. How is this going to work? And I thought that was really good. I really liked the pacing of that little sequence. The low point for me, I thought, was watching Grogu choke out the stormtroopers, because there was such a play, I think, for me, and again, because I'm not a Star Wars fan, I mean, it was cool to see Boba Fett, it was cool to see Fennel come back and all those things, but the part that I was like, oh shit, that's intense, is watching Grogu choke out those stormtroopers, because it gave me the false hope that Grogu was going to escape in this episode, and then as soon as he went down, I was like, oh, I see where we're going here. Yeah. How about you, Ben?
high point I think would be the action. Like, I really enjoyed the action this one. I really enjoyed this season because there has been a lot of like good action. Like, they really stepped it up. Both between like the Jedi episode, the Crate Dragon, and then this one. Like, it's so they're doing such a good job, like keeping you like really like intensely interested. While even this one didn't kind of propel the story too much forward, other than getting Grogu onto the enemy ship, it really kept me like going and being like, yeah, I cannot wait for next week, because I think there's going to be a little bit of a lull next week for action, and like even it'll be like very story based and probably a lot of exposition here and there, but I'm still really excited to getting it going, because I'm like, where are they going to go next? Like, there's so much action. There's going to be like a huge fight scene in the last one, just like the last episode of the last season. Like, how is it going to conclude? So I would say the action would probably be a high point, especially again, Boba Fett coming in with the gaffy stick, just like destroying people, was amazing. I think that we had never really seen those weapons used effectively, and now we have.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, damn, Tusken Raiders like didn't mess around. My low point, I think, would be timing. I think you guys kind of mentioned it before, but having Grogu get like the shield go up right as he like came up, looking for like something to turn on, how it like went down as soon as he left to like protect Grogu, like the shield went down, and then right before they get to Grogu, he gets taken out by these troopers. It was just too many like, oh, this just happened, ah ha ha, trying to like get that kind of emotional, maybe not emotional response, but that kind of response that it's like, oh, he just missed him, oh shoot, what's gonna happen? It's like, no, just why don't you just have him go down and fight, and then like halfway through have these troopers, like these death troopers, dark troopers, whatever they're called, go in and then have them be able to reach through that force field. Like have them like all go in, like maybe one or two get like tossed aside, but have like one grab him out of it. I thought that would be like so much more of a powerful moment. Have him actually be kidnapped, not just him being asleep on the thing, but like him being taken out of this really important moment for his development, right? His choosing if he wants to be a Jedi or if he doesn't want to be. And having like ripped away from that would have been like a really good segue into maybe something happened when he got ripped away, right? Like maybe his connection with the Force got somewhat severed or whatever. And they could have really built on that instead of just him conveniently finishing as soon as the Mandalorian left this side, right?
That's a really good point. That would have been very hard. That would have been a tragedy.
And like I think that would have been so interesting. And like you could have gone up to the ship and then him having maybe tried to use his powers and have them not working, right? Have some kind of real consequence that I don't feel is really here. Like I know that at the end of this Mandalorian or someone's going to save the baby. Someone might die trying to save Grogu, but someone is going to save him because they need to keep the series going. And there's no way to keep Grogu captured for at the end of this season. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it was a missed opportunity. One of the things. Could have done some really cool things there and like made it really, really intriguing to like go into that next step, especially if he did lose his powers, right? Because he already did call it Jedi. Well, maybe he had to like work with the Jedi to like slowly build that back up and like get that Force connection back, right? Lose connection with the Force, right? There's been a bunch of Jedi lost connection with the Force. Even like Ahsoka, she almost died. The only reason like she has like so much power now is because she absorbed the human personification of the light side to like bring her back and like, get that connection back with the Force. So it's like they have these things in their lore that they could really pull from, but it just seemed like they missed that opportunity here. But overall, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited for next Friday. Like, can't come fast enough at this point. Because penultimate episodes seem to kind of be like the heavy hitters for TV right now, rather than the actual. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do and how they're going to propel into season 3, and then feel shitty because we have to wait an entire year for season 3 to come out.
Yep.
Question about the Dark Troopers. Are those new for Mandalorian, or do they have any history with anything? Because I've never heard of them before.
Here, let me give it a quick check and read.
And they hated it at the previous episode where he's standing in that place and they're all kind of docked on the side. So I assume they're like robot troopers or something.
Yeah,
some kind of droid.
Between like the Death Troopers from Rogue One and then like super battle droids. That's kind of as a mix.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to come in as a larger thing, or if because at the end of the previous episode, it felt like that was going to be a big reveal or something, that there's these special soldiers they've made.
So in current canon, they appeared in Star Wars Commander, which I think was a video game. Yeah, so Star Wars Commander, which is an app game made by Disney, and then they showed up here. But in Legends, they showed up in a lot of different places. They were in
0, 1, 2,
0, 1, 2, and 3, as well as in a whole bunch of different areas. Oh man, they look awesome. The later, like the Phase 3, kind of looks like a Space Marine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. Appearances: Battlefront, Battlefront 2, Elite Squadron, Empire at War, Force Unleashed, Renegade Squadron, Dark Force, Sandblasted, Star Wars Galaxies. So mostly games, it looks like, and some bugs. So I guess they have been around, but this is like the first in the actual canon. Very cool though. Very very cool looking. I'm excited. I'm excited that they're bringing back robots. Because I think I know. I always thought that the robots actually had better aim than the stormtroopers, and like some of those robots were very useless, like the battle droids. But they still able to like get some good shots off, unlike stormtroopers who kind of just, with the exception of Episode 4, have been useless. Like, like Episode 4, they walk in, kill everybody on the Tantive 4, and then for the rest of that episode, they're like useless. They can't shoot like anybody, even though they're standing right in front of them. So kind of a funny thing that we all make fun of, but you know, robots at least didn't fail as hard. But yeah. Sweet. Well, I think that's all I have to say. Do you guys have anything you want to add on or bring up that we haven't discussed already?
Not for me.
The one thing that I wrote down that I didn't mention yet was I'm kind of glad that Grogu is kidnapped right now, because it means a little bit less. Well, I guess we'll still have to see him, but he won't be like meddling with things and trying to steal the stupid little ball thing from the
Like the
yeah.
Where he just like does random crap and gets himself.
Ever since he ate those eggs, I've been like Grogu is a little shit. It's a little shit. Just a troublemaker. Doesn't listen.
In the podcast, I even said like why'd you have to eat the eggs? Like why'd you have to like make me hate Grogu for an entire episode?
Yeah. He ate so many eggs.
And like it seemed like only one of them actually hatched at the end of it. They could have had so many more spawn, possibly, with all the eggs that he ate. Oh, what a jerk!
Yeah.
What a jerk!
He won't be eating any eggs where he's going.
He'll probably be eating there. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm excited to see what'll happen. I do agree. I think it'll be nice to have an episode or two without Baby Yoda in it. Without him, because it'll be like him planning on like infiltrating this crazy thing, right? Oh, excuse me, I better sneeze. But yeah, like it'll be exciting because it's gonna be like Ocean's 11 style planning, right? And I love like that kind of thing where they like talk about the plan and stuff, and if they're doing it at the same time as they talk about it, I love that like way of storytelling. So I'd be really interested to see that, but I think next episode is just gonna be them trying to get that Bill Burr's character out of a prison. It makes me worried because I'm like, why are we doing this again? Why do we need to go back to that prison? Here,
It was just the prison episode again, except new, the same style.
All right, so the next episode. Sorry, so the director of this one wasn't the director of the prison.
Robert Rodriguez had never done one before.
Rick Giwa?
Right.
So,
What
worries me is, I'm just gonna call him Rick. So Rick directed and wrote the prison episode. Guess who wrote the next episode?
He did. Okay.
So,
Really?
So that kind of worries me.
Oh damn.
Like a penultimate episode, and he made an episode that was probably like the worst.
Yeah. If they do
direct the child episode, so like there's two sides to that coin. Because the child episode was amazing; it was amazingly like directed, but the writing and stuff in the episode wasn't great. So I'm like, oh.
I guess we'll have to see what because it's also what you're working with too. Whereas now there's a lot more material to play with, especially how it's been propped and put into this position. I'm gonna give benefit of the doubt. I think it's gonna be good.
I guess I'd also worry that they're only bringing Bill Burr back because the director likes him, right? I know that I'm sure shows do that a lot, but like having a show go in a certain direction, like with a plot based on like liking a character, kind of odd. Even though I guess that happened with Ahsoka, with Dave Fillion, who loves Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm going to go in to next week with lower expectations, but I'm really hoping.
Yeah. You never know. 2020. It's 2020, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah. All right. So, if that's everything for everyone, I think Gabe has something he wants to say.
Right. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's talk about that. Okay. So today on December 6th, 14 young women were murdered at École Polytechnique in Montreal in a tragic, senseless act of violence. This tragedy occurred because they were women. It is on this day we honor both the women who survived and those that tragically lost their lives on this day 31 years ago. The fact of the matter is that women still face discrimination and violence towards them. This behavior is unacceptable and wrong. We here at the Cooperators Podcast believe in equality for all and wish no harm towards anyone, especially women. We started this podcast to unite people and to create a community where people share their ideas and passions of culture, and we continue to support and try our best to be allies. On behalf of Ben and myself, and our special guest Gab, we would like to offer our condolences.
Thanks for that. And we will put in some resources in the links for this podcast for different places you can go if you are having trouble or if you just need advice or help, especially if you're dealing with violence or discrimination.
Especially in COVID time. So.
All right, so we're gonna get into the wrap up here. Like I said at the start of the episode, we are the Mighty Mandos podcast. Each and every week, we go through an episode of The Mandalorian live on stream on Sundays at twitch.tv/the_operators. You can also catch us on your podcasting app a couple of days later. It usually goes up either Monday or Tuesday, depending on how long the episode is. And it will also be up on our YouTube. You can look us up at The Cooperators.
Can people rate us on things that, like, is there, how can they do that?
Do us on anywhere that can be rated. That includes, I think, Google Play Music as well as on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating, send us a review. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to us at thecooperatorsentertainment@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We also.
Do you think there'll come a point? Do you think there'll come a point where, like, we could tell the Chromecast to say, like, "Okay, Google, play the Cooperators podcast," and it would do it? That would be pretty cool.
That works, doesn't it? Yeah. I think I've done that.
It can't play it right now, but it's there. Got it.
Spotify. And if you make sure to click the subscribe on all of those apps, as you will get a notification when we put up our latest episodes. We also have a merch store now, which is awesome. You can reach that at thecooperators.review/merch. So we have some shirts up there, which is pretty cool. I bought some graphics for the Mandalorian stuff, so we got some Mighty Mandos Mighty Mandos shirts as well as just the Cooperator shirts too. So all very exciting. That's starting to get built up more and more.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the people out there can, like, listen and wear our amazing gear as well as listening to us? Is that what you're telling me? Because, like, that's a deal. That's a deal and a half, especially for the holidays. Come on.
And exciting news, on Tuesday we are going to be doing a special 3-part episode for the Cooperators Reviewers Couch. We are bringing it back for some Christmas movies. That includes The Night Before, Muppets Christmas Carol, and I can't remember what the third one was that we chose. Was it Office Christmas Party?
I can't remember. But you know what I do know is that if there were, I don't know, a dairy alternative eggnog company that wanted to sponsor us, I would drink it.
I would drink a normal eggnog because dairy alternative
would?
eggnog.
You would? Yeah. 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 Yep. I'm just putting
It's
like
less rich, actually. It's kind of nice. It's less thick.
Okay.
Regardless, someone's drinking eggnog, and it's probably going to be you, Ben. It's probably going to be me, and it's probably
If we are
like
all drinking spiked eggnog while watching the night before, I'm gonna be disappointed in Hugh and Carmen and myself.
Something's gonna happen. I don't know what.
I'm sure. So make sure to tune into that. We're going to be live at about 7 p.m. PST with that, and you'll catch me, Gabe, and Carmen, just like throughout the summer when we're doing other movies. I think that's everything for wrap up. You can catch on social media. We have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those will be in the description of this podcast, as well as for the watchers, they are just up over there.
Yeah. Funny moves you had there. It sounds like you're dancing. Too bad we're not on TikTok.
Right? I could just like be moving my hips and get a million views.
Oh wait, we are on TikTok.
We're on TikTok, aren't we? That's right. We have TikTok too. I need to. That might actually start getting used in the next couple weeks. I'm still trying to get my social media plan stuff together. I am also going to Cooperators will be streaming daily now, which is super exciting. We're going to be going from about 1:30 p.m. to about 4:30 p.m. and then we'll take a little break so I can go to the gym and get dinner, and then I'll be coming back on around 7 o'clock to about 10 o'clock every night. So we're going to be doing lots of streaming, everybody. I'm very excited for what's happening in the future, and watch out for that, as well as a couple new podcasts that are going to be launching in January. So it's going to be a big month. We're hopefully going to have some more guests. I think we're going to probably have Gab back. Not exactly sure which episode, but definitely for the finale if he's onto it. And yeah, and he's taken on the Gabe syndrome. If you are not watching, you should definitely do on just that one little part where you get to see everybody's teeth.
I'm so glad that I had the privilege of being a dentist.
Okay, and that is going to do it for us this week. But before we end, just like every week, we have to have our last question of the day.
So you're telling me that Boba Fett, Fennec, have been traveling the universe for a while looking for his armor on the Slave One ship, and they ain't having sex?
That's fair.
Also, you know,
They might be uploading. They might be uploading some files.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe. Followed by, if she's part robot now,
Think about the next word.
then
Say very carefully, Gabe.
no. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm just saying, if she's part robot now, then is she gonna have the same fate as IG-11?
No, we can't have another person explode themselves.
Because
So
remember, the Mandalorian doesn't trust robots.
just now.
Kind of.
Now he let these robots work on the ship, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
She's not a robot. She's like a cyborg. Why would that happen?
Did I die?
You died.
I think you somehow my thing reset though. There we go. Okay, I'm back to normal.
Okay, followed by my last question. Where the Jawas at? It's a desert planet. Are they just on Tatooine?
No, because they were on Nash, whatever that's called. Navarro. Yeah, they're on Navarro. That's where they destroyed a ship and they got the egg.
So where are they in this one?
Well, this wasn't a desert planet.
This was like a rocky.
This had,
Okay,
this had trees and stuff. Come on, man.
It was a rocky green. It was like a moss planet.
Yeah, and you know, Jawas don't fuck with no moss. They don't like
That's
that
true.
stuff. They only want the sugas. Nothing but sugas. Guys.
Last question. Boba Fett puts on the armor. Other people have worn that armor. Gotta smell. Does he not smell it?
Also, okay, so I know I should have brought this up during the actual thing. He put that armor on really fast. Like, real fast. For someone who, like, never seemed to take it off during the original series, he put that armor on, like, in record speed. I could barely put my pants on.
But he also didn't really put it on properly. Like he still had his like skirt sticking out. It was like he really just put it on. It looked like a rush dress job. It was not tidy.
The leg things on, like the leg rockets. Which
Also,
things that the other guy had. I didn't think he got his pants. Like, where'd those come from?
Also, where the fuck did that missile come from? From his backpack? Because that's already been used once. It's already been used once.
Maybe he just had a whole bunch of spares.
When was it used?
At the end of the Marshall episode, he used the rocket to shoot the crate dragon, but they never actually put a new rocket into it. So the Mandalorian must have just had random rockets that fit that exact hole lying around the ship, right?
Well, he would have had some for his own, right?
He doesn't have a rocket on his.
Oh, he does. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have a rocket launcher, which is lame. Why did he get this crappy no rocket launcher jetpack?
Maybe Boba Fett had extras on Slave One, and he was just like packing it down his pants.
Just in case. Is that a rocket in your pocket?
No. On that note, I'm out.
Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to those who listen later. We will be back next week on Sunday at the regular time. This is the way.